microphone, but can you hear me? Okay. Well, a couple things come to mind. Number one, the people that are here today is a testament to the number of lives that she touched, clearly. Just to start with that. The next thing that comes to mind is that I feel like I am at a horse show and you just watched two other really good rides and you're like, oh my God, can I do this? So anyway, Judith and Ellen, thank you for your kind words for Mrs. Troup. Ellen was the 60s, I'm the 70s. How about that? And also had the lovely opportunity to purchase a horse from Ellen. Captain Frost, some of you may have known Captain Frost, the big old app. So we share that, Ellen, and are forever linked by that wonderful athlete. I too have a script because I'm not particularly good at this public speaking thing. But before I move to that, there are a couple of side notes. I was one of the fortunate students who became a working student, and so I worked and lived here at Runnymede with Lee and Charlotte for at least 3 or so consecutive summers. But prior to that, I was introduced to Runnymede by my dear friend Cindy Goss McBrien, who is sitting here in the front, taping us for everyone's pleasure. And I can recall Cindy and I spending 2 weeks here, and we came home from a horse show. We got in about 3 in the morning. We all know that you never get in before midnight after you've showed all weekend. And it was about 6:30 in the morning, and we hear this little raspy voice hollering up the steps. And I think Cindy remembers quite well what Charlotte was conveying. She says, "What do you think we're doing, running a country club here?" We'd had about 2 hours of sleep, but nonetheless, the work ethic was instilled in us at a quite young age that it didn't matter if you'd only had 2 hours of sleep. There were still horses to feed and stalls to muck, and 6 o'clock had already come and gone, and there was time to get on with that day. So, and another fond memory I have of Lee, and Ellen touched on this a little bit, all of us had, at some point or another, had the opportunity to drive either the vans or the horse trailers. And for me, under Lee's tutelage, I got fairly savvy at driving the trailers down the road. However, for me, not the gas stations, early on it was like you didn't have the opportunity, or I didn't, to haul it out the driveway because the driveway was so narrow. And Charlotte always said to me, now remember, you have to stay way left. Stay way left because you don't want to put that long rig in the ditch on the right. So all morning long I was preparing for my first solo flight out the driveway thinking you've got to stay way left. You do not want to put this rig in the ditch on the right. So my longest walk was back to the house to tell Charlotte, well, ma'am, I didn't put it in the ditch on the right, I put it in the ditch on the left. So we, of course, had to offload all the horses, and wasn't too much damage done, but to this very day, I still drive a little bit left of center. So, and I have friends who will testament to that. That being said, there are so many fond memories I have of Charlotte, it's very difficult to put them into words. All of us have perceptions of people who have influenced our lives. As we age, those perceptions change. As adults, we finally come to realize and value the positive influences these individuals bestow upon us. Charlotte influenced all of us with her wisdom, integrity, and wit. When I think of Charlotte, the following comes to mind. She was an intellectual, well-educated, well-spoken, sophisticated, and a talented horsewoman. She was intensely private, complicated, and taught endless beginners to master the walk-trot. She convinced them that Wishbone, that was the pony, that Wishbone could tell time, as he never failed to return to her at the center of the ring at exactly the 30-minute mark. There are the things that she never missed. She never missed her morning stroll to the barn to stay informed of the day's events. Her morning lessons, especially with Judy Gertiga, Mary Ann Yon, Judy Knorr, Mrs. Zambrano, a number of other folks I'm sure I failed to mention, but she loved the Wednesday morning ladies class. She looked forward to it more than words can say, because I would be the one usually getting ready to help the women get their horses around, and she would say, oh, the ladies are coming today, the two Judys and Mary Ann. And I remember Mary Ann being pregnant with young Mary Ann, who is here with her daughter today, and she worried about Mary Ann Yon incessantly. She's going to have that child in an indoor arena. I just know it. So, that being said, yeah, it was touch and go there, Mary Ann. You had us all on pins and needles. So she never missed her lessons, her Thursday hair appointment, and making dinner for us after a long day. And oh yes, she never missed her 4 p.m. Budweiser. In the early days of Runnymede, she made it on her own when it was neither easy nor popular to be a single woman in a man's world, let alone a businesswoman. She faced challenges with grace, tackled life on her terms, for better or worse, without excuses or apology. She was a woman of few words. She called things as she saw them, and in her raspy voice, she always spoke the truth, whether you wanted to hear it or not. Finally, she single-handedly raised one of the most successful female horse trainers in the country, and those of us have had the wonderful privilege of having both Charlotte and Lee in our lives for a good many years. She was extremely proud of her daughter Lee and her 2 grandchildren, Sean and Kelly. Although she may not have always verbalized the pride she felt for them, you could see it in the twinkle in her eye when their many accomplishments were mentioned or they were in her presence. I feel privileged to have had Charlotte in my life for the last 45 years. I will miss her raspy voice, speaking the truth, and through example, challenging us in a positive way to live our life as she did, with integrity and grace. No excuses, no pity party. Thank you.
Robin? Where's Robin?